Yo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, we will continue reading from the 14th chapter, text 26. Huh? No. It's through text 8, I believe. Okay, text 26 of chapter 14, the three modes of material nature. Mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samathityaitan mama bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at one transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Verse 27. Brahmano hi pratisthaham amritasya vyasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikhantikasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. Chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. Text 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhva Mulam Athas Shakam Ashwatham Prahur Avyayam Shantam Siyasya Par. Athashchadvam prashrathastasya shakha guna pravridha vishaya pravalaha. Living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another as the air carries aromas. Text 9. Shrotram chakshusparshanam cha rasanam grahanam eva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayanupasebate. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, tongue, and nose and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular sense of sense objects. Well, I think I was supposed to stop at 8 or 9. That's probably good there. All right, so we'll go back to where we started, which was Smam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatithayatan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. And we can hear the translation and purport given to us by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, read by His Grace Jagannath Prabhu. You got a microphone behind the computer and that one.
One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance,
Optimal means that the Lord is there, the devotee is there, the activity and exchange of love between the Lord and the devotee is there. So he's thinking about love, it's different relationships that we see in this material world, and they all require some degree of surrender. And if we surrender to anything that's disconnected from Krishna, we'll never be satisfied. So we can't fully give ourselves to it. So therefore, it's only a temporary or minuscule amount of surrender. But we could still look at that example of these type of relationships. There's a give and a take. So in this purport, Prabhupada's highlighting of giving to Krishna, and by giving to Krishna, one will even on to say that you gave this analogy of the gold and the gold mine. Well, I can bring it back to the shloka. It says, one who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So if we really surrender and give ourselves to Krishna, and not just in lip service through words, but through full consciousness, activities, everything, then we'll come up to the transcendental platform. And we were hearing about the modes of material nature leading up to this. And I think the last text we read last night, Arjuna asked, what does somebody look like who's in that platform? And Krishna, he says, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they disappear, who is seated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond these material reactions of the modes of nature, who remains firm, knowing that the modes alone are active, who regards alike pleasure and pain, and looks on a clod, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is wise and holds praise and blame to be the same, who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friends and foe alike, who has abandoned all fruit of undertakings, such a man is said to have transcended the modes of nature. So Krishna gives the practical example of what somebody looks like, some symptoms, somebody who's transcendental to the modes of material nature. And then in the next shloka, the one that we read today, he said how to attain that. Yes, Magadora, you had something you want to say?
So whenever we were reading the purport, then there is this topic of transfer. He may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. I'll read the whole sentence from Prabhupada. One should not be disturbed by the activities of the modes of nature. Instead of putting his consciousness into such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. So I was thinking about this, how it seems that being conscious of pitfalls to being Krishna conscious or is something that is a very subtle thing. So like, say I'm walking down the street and I see this car or this piece of trash. So my mind goes to cars, or my mind goes to that piece of food, what they call food, right? And then, so my mind is automatically there. It's that easy. Now, I mean, it's like so it's like a subtle thing, because immediately the mind, with the training that, I've been trying to take, it says, that's Maya. That's totally Maya. Don't stay away. It's not going to be good. It's dangerous. So then it's like, and everywhere I go, it's like, that's where my mind is going. Oh, danger, 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 danger. And I'm just wondering, okay, is that actually Krishna conscious? Or if I think that it's dangerous, does that mean it's Krishna conscious? Or is it, my mind is supposed to be somewhere else? And then that's when I thought about, there's one statement from Prabhupada's books, he says, he uses a phrase, he gives some nice explanation. He says, that is the mental culture of Krishna consciousness. Something like that. It's like it's one of those really standout lines in my mind. And I'm just wondering, I think it was talking about thinking of Krishna's different activities, in his different incarnations and everything, his Leela, his so then I'm just wondering, it's is there room for the danger, the danger consciousness, where I'm always running away from all the things that I'm conditioned to be attracted to? Or is it I should switch? Or is there room for both? Please forgive me for this type of a question.
No, this is valid. A couple of days ago, Rishi was giving class and he was talking about the progression of the renunciation of Raghunath Das Goswami, which is always nice to hear about. Prabhupada really emphasized these points that we should minimize eating, sleeping. But then, Ananda Prabhu very nicely pointed out that, this is just a natural byproduct of their love for Krishna, their increase in their bhakti, that these things were impediments on that path. So the reason why I mention this now is that from the neophyte platform, I should be aware if I'm eating too much, where I have to go throw up and I have to pass out and I can't do service, then I should put some focus on minimizing it, to be more regulated. But am I going to straight up be okay, I can only eat a handful of rice and that's it because, I have to chant japa? It's probably not practical. Then you'll be liable to do something, up and down, bogatyaga. So the connection is that, in the neophyte platform, we should see things as dangerous and be aware of what's going to pull us away from Krishna consciousness, and be aware of our own standing. If I'm strong, for instance, I've been at, many music festivals or other very passionate places distributing books. And, this is a good shloka in connection with this, because if you're fully absorbed in service, then you're not even bothered by everything around you, because you're totally absorbed. You just want to get out more books. You want to preach, you want to do your duty. But the moment that you let up or you get too mental, then the modes of material nature are around you, just onslaughting you. Shri Shri Gauranatai Ki Jai. So we need to be aware of our own standing and, be aware of that. But then similarly, we need to transfer our consciousness to Krishna consciousness. But, I was thinking when you were speaking, and the next sentence, Prabhupada, he says, Krishna activities are known as bhakti yoga, always acting for Krishna. So if we're viewing the world in this way, is this helping us act for Krishna, or is it not? This is a question that we have to ask ourselves, and that will change over time due to our perception, due to our growth, due to how we're seeing the world. But I was just reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada, he was highlighting the point of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. And essentially, he was making the point how everything is spiritual, but because we don't have the vision to see that way, to see Krishna and everything, then we see material and spiritual. But we can see these same material things and see it that, oh yeah, Krishna is in control of this. This is his Maya. This is his energy. So, and I should not go towards Maya. It's not conducive for me to advancing Krishna consciousness. Then yeah, Krishna will be pleased because we're striving to, follow his teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So, I want to say we shouldn't walk around in fear. We should, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. But at the same time, if being fearful of everything we see is conducive for us to chant Hare Krishna and do service, then so be it. We have to do what we have to do. It's better to be, a nervous wreck and anxiety and timid and Krishna conscious, rather to be bold and boisterous and courageous, as a karmi. Because somebody's acting very personable and boisterous and courageous, these kind of traits in this life, and a lot of people are attracted by it. But what happens in their next life? They could end up as a bat, or in a hellish planet, and then they'll be in a fearful position. But the devotee, he'll be making advancement on the proper path, and Krishna, he'll reveal knowledge from within, of which how we can come to him further and further. So it's just a few thoughts. Is there any other topics of discussion? Any points, any questions? Yes.
There's also this term, unfailing determination. And that seems very vague to me. I guess, I'm just wondering how exactly to measure that. How can I, if I'm supposed to be trying my best and I need unfailing determination, how can I know if I actually have it or how to improve it?
I mean, you ever seen a baby try to walk? They fall and they stumble, and it seems like, they don't have it. But they have unfailing determination. How do I know this? Because we're all walking now. So, we tried, we fell, we cried, we stopped, and we gave up. But then we tried, we kept going, we kept pushing. So similarly, that's it. We just have to keep going no matter what, thick or thin. We can try to measure it, but there's no point in measuring it. And in the first sentence that you pointed out, this is what Prabhupada is essentially saying. Instead of putting his consciousness into such activities related to the modes of material nature, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. There's no end to trying to figure out why I'm in anxiety, why I have depression, why when I speak I get nervous, or why when I do this happens, or why, in my past I was treated like this by my parents, or I grew up this way and this person grew up this, there's no end to it. There's no end. Maybe it's helpful to take a look at such things sometimes, or, reveal our mind just to clear the air and get it out. But to dig into it, it's pointless, because as soon as we do, it's like a landslide will come from other places. Like there's no end. The solution is to transferring our consciousness into Krishna activities. And just like a baby that's trying to walk, we fall, we stumble. It's hard, it's tough. I don't want to surrender. But then we get kicked. We get kicked. And if Krishna's merciful to us, he'll show us through whatever it takes, putting us in tough situations, making us struggle, make us suffer, or bring somebody in our life that's very encouraging and inspiring. It could happen many ways, but ultimately, only through Krishna's mercy, he'll inspire us to take this seriously. And what's this word that you just used? Unfailingly. I had it here somewhere. Unfailing determination, yes. So we may not have that now, but we have to keep going and keep trying. And through trial and error, you'll realize, when I listen to my mind and when I serve the material energy, it's horrible. And when I serve Krishna, it's nice. Sometimes it seems like I don't know if Krishna's there. I can't see him. I can't smell him. I can't, know him per se. I have to read a book to know about him. But we'll see that when I stray away from the Bhagavad Gita, from the teachings Krishna provides, stray away from glorifying the Lord, from reading, from hearing, chanting his glories, and drift more into listening to the mind or being attracted to the material energy. It's rough. It's rough. It's like you get pulled into a desert and there's no relief, and you're just seeking this relief. The only relief is by serving Krishna. And by serving Krishna fully, then we come to this level of Brahman, this spiritual platform, transcendental to the modes of material nature. And Krishna, he says quite a few times, throughout the Bhagavad Gita, kind of giving insight into what that's like. Especially the shloka that we just read before this one. Okay, any other points? You got something?
With your permission, can I make a quick comment?
Yes, make all the comments.
Well, I was thinking about this point of, in any circumstance that we find ourselves in this material world, because Arjuna is finding himself in a pretty strange circumstance. And we will, by the arrangement of the material energy, find ourselves sometimes in very strange circumstances. And that's when the mind may think some material solution is the solution. Arjuna had so many material solutions or adjustments to his circumstance, but the ultimate solution is always one, is to abide by Krishna's will, instructions, and surrender to him. And that's the test. Is in your life, you will be tested. You'll be put through so many circumstances, and you may think, maybe I need to do this, maybe I need to do that. And many people will tell you, maybe you need to do this and this and that and this. But actually, you need to double down in those times and say, I'm just going to do the Krishna conscious thing. Because even when Krishna conscious may get difficult, your mind will start thinking, maybe I need to do something, some material adjustment and this, that, and the other. But ultimately, none of these things are going to actually really help you mentally or in any regards. They're not going to give you satisfaction. Usually people want to change their circumstance when they're not fully satisfied or whatever the case may be. But the only solution is actually to figure out how to be Krishna conscious and surrender to Krishna somehow. So, and you have to make that decision in every circumstance which the material energy may arrange for you to be in, however awkward it may be or however difficult it may be. Or sometimes we put in a circumstance that we can't even imagine how the hell we got into this circumstance, but here we are. But somehow we have to be Krishna conscious. Your health may go, or so many different things. And you may say, well, maybe now I need to come up with a material solution for my problems, and give up Krishna conscious, or give up surrendering to Krishna, reduce how much I'm doing Krishna conscious. And then I'll be happy. Then I'll be properly situated. But there's no properly situated in this material world. It's just make the best use of a bad bargain. It's never going to be perfect, no matter what you do. And then you just waste a whole bunch of time thinking, man, I could have adjusted to adjust in this way and that and way. And next thing you know, you wasted 10 years. You could have been doing Krishna conscious properly, or making advancement in understanding the person who you're supposed to be investing all your energy understanding and getting to know. So that's really the ultimate solution, because we don't really have time. Any minute now we can kick the bucket. So we want to make sure the majority of the time we're investing in our relationship with Krishna. And you can't fake it. You can't fake if you know him or not. If you actually know him in truth, then you can't help but continue to surrender more and more and want to know him more and more and more. There's no like, I read the Bhagavad Gita, I read Krishna book, I heard so many times Krishna's qualities. That's someone who doesn't know anything about Krishna. Then if one is actually making some progress, then we will see that naturally the test is that he continues to want to know more about Krishna and want to do more for Krishna, surrender to Krishna like this, and continues to want to reduce his material fever gradually. So we should see that we're in these areas we're actually improving. And I would say that's the test. If we're actually being determined, then our determination will continue. It won't become weaker and weaker. It's not that, I used to be so fired up about trying to improve my japa, but now I'm no longer fired up about it. So I used to be fired up about the Krishna book and Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but I'm no longer fired up. So it's like, it should be improving over time. You should see that no matter what Maya or the arrangement you find yourselves in, that your mind is going towards that direction, that I need to double down on Krishna conscious and surrender to him and actually get to know Krishna, not just fake it. Hare Krishna.
This reminds me how I was listening to a japa workshop by Mahatma Prabhu one time, and he was talking about how they had a japa retreat, for like 3 days, and they're really going deep into katha about japa, about chanting extra rounds, really getting into it. In the last day, I think they all chant 64 rounds, maybe like the last 2 days or something. Anyways, but he brought up the point how there would be people who were practicing for like 30 or 40 years, and they're like crying in tears, not because like they're experiencing some kind of ecstasy, but they just realize that they just wasted the past 20 years of their life. Because, you know, I was just chanting japa because it's a chore. Oh, I was fired up about Krishna at one point, and then I accepted it, and then I just got jaded, and then I just do it as, you know, an external thing, basically, so I can just go eat and sleep at the temple. I mean, everybody has their own reasons, but the point being is, yeah, that's a very nice point, is that we should always strive to go deeper, and we're conditioned souls, so it's natural that the mind will give us issues, or we won't want to go deeper, or, you know, I read the Krishna book 5 times already, you know, do I really need to read it again? The Bhagavatam, I was fired up last month, but right now, reading's tough. We have to dig deep in those moments and really question ourselves, see what we actually value, where our motivation is coming from, where our energy is being directed to, and do it. I mean, I know when I take a break from reading, even if it's because, you know, I have a few days of extra service and I just fall out of the habit of reading, then naturally this thing comes up where it's like, oh, I don't want to read. You know, it's too much. But then I start reading, and I'm like, oh wow, this is awesome. This is amazing. It totally sets your vision on point with life's goal. And then, you know, through that you can become inspired, because who are we? What do we have? Whatever enthusiasm we have, it's not coming from ourselves. We wouldn't even know of Krishna if it wasn't for Prabhupada. You know, how inspired would we be to serve Krishna if we didn't see our guru just like fully flowing through the material energy, just chanting Hare Krishna, doing service nonstop? So we should take shelter of Prabhupada, take shelter of our guru, and, you know, ultimately take shelter of the scriptures and take shelter of Krishna, the holy name. All right. Any other points? Any other topics? Yes. Radha Damodar Prabhu.
Just addressing Bhagavad Prabhu's point earlier, that if I'm walking in the street and I see a candy bar wrapper or something, and I'm thinking,
don't touch it.
Yeah, don't touch it, or
don't look at it.
Don't look at it, because I don't want to be tempted, because it will ruin my physique. It'll ruin my teeth. It'll give me acne. It'll do all these things, diabetes, cancer. And then we can see that our consciousness is on the bodily platform, you know. So fear is arising for those reasons. But if you're looking at this wrapper and you're thinking, well, I don't want to do it because it's going to destroy my remembrance of Krishna, or it's going to ruin my yajna, and it's an incentive for us to pray to the Lord. Oh Lord, please protect me from this lust, you know, please, whatever, we're praying. Then our consciousness is situated properly, you know. So those are some ways that I thought of how to gauge situations like that, you know. Yes.
No, it's a really nice point. I mean, the prayer is important, because I'm just reflecting on how there's been times where I've seen things that I'm like looking at the camera and everybody's over here. It's pretty strange. No, you know, I know from my own experience personally that I've seen, you see things and you see how disastrous it can be, and you can see it in a Krishna conscious way and see like, okay, I don't need this thing. This is just the body. This is the bag of stool, or, you know, this is just a chemical that's going to make you feel good for 5 seconds. And then, you know, later it's just going to bring misery. And you have that, like, you're seeing through the Shastra. It seems clear. I don't need this. I don't want that. But then it's so easy because we're conditioned that it's there in your consciousness, and then 5 seconds later, your mind switches it, and it's like, oh, it's actually not so bad. You can see different angles of it. So, yeah, we have to take shelter because we may not be so strong to rely on our intelligence and our own strength purely. But it's a very, very nice point. I like that, making the distinction of seeing things on the bodily platform, whatever, which insight into these modes of material nature where we may be also. All right, did you remember your point now? Come on. All right. Is there any other points? All right. We'll read this text. This is the end of chapter 14. Krishna says, and I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. So Krishna, speaking about these three modes of material nature, then in chapter 15, he begins to describe, which is called the Yoga of the Supreme Person, this banyan tree, which is very difficult to know, but one who knows this banyan tree can very easily cross over this material world. And, I always like how this analogy is given of the banyan tree, how its branches are going every which way, its roots are going up, its branches are going down. How would we figure out what this is if it's not through the mercy of the acharyas? They make it so transparent so we can clearly see what's going on. But Krishna, what does he say? He says that one that knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. And then, where's the part I'm looking for? He says, I can't find it, but he says, one should cut down this tree with the weapon of detachment. What? Oh, really? Real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut this down with the weapon of detachment. So doing, one must seek that place from which, having once gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything has begun, and in whom everything is abiding, since time immemorial. So we got to free ourselves from this illusion and find reality, which is non-changing. It's permanent. It's not just being in flux with these modes of material nature that Krishna is describing. And we do this with detachment. How do we acquire detachment? By rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We get transcendental knowledge, and from this transcendental knowledge naturally results detachment. So we get transcendental knowledge from performing devotional service, pleasing Krishna, and studying the Shastras. And, one who knows the Shastras, which Krishna says here, he says, one who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So one who studies the Shastras can see the tabernacle that we're stuck in this material world, and how it's not a pleasant place, and that we must free ourselves from this. And this is life's goal, to turn to God and render service to Him, because by rendering service to God, we become happy. Not even happy. We become fulfilled. We become satisfied. And everything we're hankering after in life rest in this. So the more we could double down, give our full energy and effort into Krishna, the more we can realize this. And Krishna consciousness is so nice because Krishna, he gives you a taste and you give yourself, you try, but because we're conditioned, you may, like Ananda was pointing out, you may reach tough points, these challenges that are thrown our way. And I was thinking when he was talking about this, how Arjuna was giving alternatives and different ideas. But Arjuna is this super pious devotee of Krishna. He's, kshatriya, abiding by dharma. I don't know about everybody else, but I know when I get challenged, my mind goes to some weird places according to where I've been with the modes of material nature. And I could see that with others, depending on how we are conditioned with the modes of material nature, that's naturally where our mind gravitates of, devotional service is very tough. Let me run away and get a job and get married, or let me run away to this farm where I could do psychedelics, or let me go to Alaska, all sorts of crazy things come to our mind. But from my experience, those challenges, they show us where we're at. Krishna can beat us down. And, it may seem like we're failing through the challenge, to be honest, but to go back to this word that, Mogadori highlighted, unfailing determination. It's like a baby learning to walk. We will fall, but you keep going. Even though, I know I'm making so many offenses, but I'm just trying to hold on to my service. I'm trying to hold on to the holy name. And then Krishna sees that you're trying to hold on. And Krishna, he likes that you're trying to struggle to go towards him. Because everybody's struggling for so much. Struggling for money, for fame, just to make ends meet, to eat food, eat meat, eat all this stuff, to go out and have fun. Everybody's struggling like anything for it, but due to lack of knowledge, they're just wasting their energy because it's perpetuating inevitable struggle, inevitable suffering. So how fortunate we are to be able to render devotional service. How fortunate we are that we have this opportunity to hear, to gather, and to pursue Krishna consciousness. I mean, there's so many people in this city alone, and there's so few people within these walls right now that are coming, that want to hear, that want to listen. So we should be supportive of one another and encourage one another and continue to grow, to, reveal our mind, to inquire and go deeper in chanting the holy name, go deeper in our service. Muster up more enthusiasm, study more shlokas, learn how to play instruments better, more properly, learn how to sing more melodies, whatever inspires us that we can use in Krishna's service. We should go for it. And when we go for it, I mean, it's not hard to tell that it's nice. Krishna, when he's pleased, it seems like you can tell right away because it's so nice. There's so much bliss. All right. Thank you, everybody, for hearing. Was there any other final last comment, last thought, last burning question, burning reflection? All right, Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gauranatai ki jai. Vancha Kalpatarubhishta Kripa Sindhabhi Vachapadita Nam Pavani Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.